Everybody for sparing the time today. This is our third Elevenses. So my bit's just going to be really brief before I pass on to Adam in terms of his session, which is all about mastering difficult conversations. So first, I just want to give you a quick introduction to Anne. So if you can pop us on to the next slide. I think it's the agenda first, actually. Yeah, so I'll do a quick welcome introduction. There's going to be a little energizer, which Adam will push us through. Then we'll do difficult conversations. And throughout this, if you want to drop questions into the chat, I'll keep a note of them, and then we'll run a quick Q&A at the end in terms of covering those points within there. Again, also in this, if there's bits that people want to throw in, what we've seen pretty useful for the ones we've done before, are people adding tips and links and all that good stuff throughout it for people to take away as well. So I'm sure as we go through it, it will flag certain bits that you've used in the past yourselves. And again, please feel free to throw those in. So I think this is all about knowledge learning and transfer and all that good stuff. So let's kick on to the next one then. So let me just quickly introduce and Digital. So we've been going just over 5 years now, so we're around about 700 plus people at the moment. So we've been growing at a fairly rapid pace. I think last year we were classed as FT's ninth fastest growing company in the UK, and about 24th in Europe. I haven't seen the stats for that latterly in terms of where that is, but again, we've had rapid growth over the last couple of years. We have 4 locations in London. We are newly created on the Thames Valley over in Reading. In terms of the north, which is where I am based, we have Manchester, Leeds, Halifax, and more latterly we've just opened up in Edinburgh. We've plans to grow to around about 60 locations by 2025. We've plans initially to grow this later, but obviously with everything going on with COVID, that's sort of delayed everything. So we're doing like everybody else, sort of watching briefly what's going on. But our intention is still to go to 60. It's just a matter of timing in terms of when that is, with our first location in Europe being planned for ideally back end of this year, early part of next year, which is likely to be Amsterdam. In terms of what we do, we are very similar to lots of other companies in that we will grow digital products, mobile apps, webs, etc. But we've done it with a mindset of trying to build our clients' capability. So we believe every company needs to do this in-house and needs to have this capability in-house to thrive, and probably more now than ever in terms of what's happened with COVID. I think I referred to those who got in early around, we're seeing the market shift, and we're seeing a lot of companies who are now really waking up to the need to push the digital agenda much faster, much harder. And it's risen up those agendas on boards much quicker in some companies. Obviously been high on lots of agendas for a while, but now I think a lot more companies who've sort of dabbled in it, not really played that hard in it, are now going, actually, this is really, really important for us. So I think it's going to be an interesting period over the next 12 months in terms of how the market shifts. And I think we're geared nicely in terms of helping companies navigate that in terms of building the capability as well, because we'll build the products, but with a mindset of building the capability. So hopefully that gives a feel for what we're about. Next slide will then sort of how we do it really. We've 3 elements that we do, and we do really well. With a small function in the consulting bit, which acts globally in terms of helping our clients really set themselves up to do this right. So typically dealing at CX level, helping work with the CEOs, CTOs, etc., to help shape what that agenda needs to look like. So short, sharp engagements to really set them up right. And the bulk of our business is building this stuff, and this is where the 10 locations I refer to, which we call clubs, which are no bigger than 80 to 100. So we serve our local communities really well and our local customers really well. Typically working with sort of 6 to 10 customers, but with a real focus on partnership and building that capability. So we'll build the products, but we want to teach and learn as much as we can for our customers. So that capability build, best way to learn is to build with us, and we can, transfer that knowledge, work alongside, intervene where we need to, which is where the teach element comes in, which is our academy. We've built the company around the best companies framework, which we finished for the first time in the top 10 this year, which we're super proud of. And the teach bit, and I think the last 4 years we've finished #1 in the UK for the teaching element of what we do, the learning and development side, and that's led by our academy team, which supports the build and the guide elements heavily in terms of, you know, the courses, the coaching and all that good stuff that we do alongside, which nicely leads me on to Adam.
Oh, thank you very much, Malcolm. Good segue. Cool. I'm Adam Hall. I'm an Agile coach for the Reading Newton Club that we have at And Digital. You may have heard of some of the companies I've worked with, which are Radio Times and Sainsbury's, Hitched, which is the UK's largest wedding website, among other things. So I've been working in the industry a long time. If you want to contact me, LinkedIn, I'm most responsive, and I'm always sort of thinking about agile things and wanting to share. So on with today. First, we'll start off with an energizer. I'm a bit nervous. I think maybe people are feeling a bit shy, so I like to start with energizer. So here we go, the perfect present game. I want everybody to imagine they've just received a delivery in the post and it's the perfect present for them. So I'm going to ask you to do a few things, but I think maybe a little bit of role play for me first. I'm going to receive a present and I'm going to describe it to everybody here. So excellent, here it is. Let me just open it. Okay, oh, it's a whiteboard, but it's a digital whiteboard that actually connects people to people, so I can actually have my agile sort of post-it note sessions with people remotely. So awesome, this is the perfect present for me. I want you to all share what would be the perfect present for you, but we'll do it in breakout rooms so it's not quite as embarrassing. So firstly, can I make sure everybody renames themselves in Zoom to their actual names, because it's good to introduce yourself with your real name. We'll split into teams of 3 to 4. I believe Jess is sorting out the breakout rooms right now. Take it in turns. So it will be about 1 minute each to introduce yourself and reveal your perfect present in these rooms. And then, yes, just open it, describe what it is, say why it's perfect, and have fun. Cool. So you should be asked to be taken to a breakout room shortly. Go and introduce yourselves. Actually, afterwards, yes, if we can make sure you leave the breakout room and come back to the main room, you will have a choice to leave the meeting entirely. Try not to press that one. Cool. So I think people are going into their breakout rooms now. We'll be back soon. Have a little bit of a conversation with people. So I've got some thumbs up, so it's working for some people. If it is rejecting you, then you can come back to the main room and we might have a bigger group in the main room as a result. So apologies for the people who it hasn't worked, but let's just go with this and see what happens. We can always respond and adapt. This is what Agile coaches live for. So cool. So what have we learned? So we should feel a bit more energized. We should have met some people, hopefully. We know the technology works was one of my points on the slide, and I'm not 100% sure if we do know the technology works, but hey, it's okay. We've met each other and we've also improvised a little bit because, let's admit it, we didn't know we were going to have the perfect present today. So we've worked on the spot, as it were. And hopefully we know a little bit about what makes each other happy, which is always a good thing to know. Okay, let's go on to some difficult conversations. So I really like to look to other things to inspire me on how to, well, here it is, difficult conversations. So what else is difficult and maybe fraught with danger? Martial arts. Obviously, fighting is a bit like a conversation. But if you look to martial arts, there's professions and there's a practice to get better at what you're doing. So if you look at martial arts with karate, there's frequent practice. You have sparring partners. So you're actually testing out the techniques on others. you learn some guided techniques, so you actually have some framework to work around. You've got to be mindful. You know, it's not about attacking your enemy. It's about sort of being present and experimenting with the motions of the body to, yes, there is an objective to defeat, but it's not defeating as in a winner and a loser. It's a sort of, it's a dance. And it's about respect and empathy. So at the beginning, there's always the bow to each other. And I think that's a very important thing to think about when you're going through difficult conversations. So let's talk about a technique in difficult conversations. And I like to use the SBI model. There are other models out there, but I like to use this one because it's fewer letters, so it's easier to remember. So the SBI model of difficult conversations, or feeding back. So first, the S in SBI is the situation. So try to be specific around the time it occurred and the place it occurred. So if we are feeding back to somebody, be specific. Next, behavior. What was it? What was the thing that you spotted? And then impact. How did it impact you personally? And I'll give some examples in a moment, but if you want, we'll be sharing these slides so you can have a look at the CCL article on leading effectively, which introduces the SBI model. So a good example of situation in the meeting we just had. It's very timely. It's also very specific about the thing that has been you're feeding back about. A bad thing. You always do this in stand-ups, or you always do this in meetings. It's not specific. It's just, it could be anything. It sounds more like a moan than actual feedback that you can respond to. Behavior. Okay. You asked everybody for an idea except me. It's much more powerful than you ignored me, because you ignored me is kind of, yeah, well, it depends on who, you know, how you classify what being ignored is. But actually here we've said, no, there's a specific thing. You asked everybody for an idea except me. Impact, and it makes me feel left out and unhappy. So you can't argue with the fact that I'm unhappy. It's a fact that I feel unhappy. Now, you could argue that actually we control our own emotions, but actually you can say, no, you know, I own this emotion. It made me feel emotional, but it was the behavior that triggered that emotion. What a bad example is, how do you think that makes me feel? Because it kind of, you're not owning the thing that you're trying to say. So that's the SBI model. And we're going to use that in a conversational dojo. So we're going to try a little bit of role play. We're going to go back into our breakout rooms that we went into before, hopefully. You may find yourself with a different group of people. If that's the case, it doesn't matter. And we're going to do some example role play, some example difficult conversations. So here's some ideas for role play. You know, a tech lead attacking a junior's coding ability. The project has been cancelled, which is quite a nasty conversation to have. A colleague that's always late to meetings and you want to feed back to them about that tardiness, or a business owner wanting to add scope late in the delivery of a project. So can I have a volunteer, please, to actually do this role play in front of people? You will only have to do a feed line. You don't have to do anything. You just, if no volunteers.
I'll do it. Go on.
Oh, thank you, Daryl. Okay, so I want you to be a business owner and I want you to tell me that you've got a great idea, basically.
What, to add late scope late in the delivery as well? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Exactly. So just, all you have to say is, I've got this great idea, Adam.
Okay. Hi, Adam. Yeah, how are you? I've got this great idea. Wouldn't mind getting into the into scope now because yeah, we need it desperately.
Okay, tell me about it.
Yeah, we need it.
Going to stop you there. So all I'm trying to do is like the instant reaction. That's probably what I would say normally because I'm not being powerful enough. In reality, I want to change that. So I need to do this differently. So I just want you to say the lead, like, I've got a great idea and I'm going to play with it. I'm going to do some more dramatic reactions.
Hi, Adam. Yeah, no, I've got a great idea that I want to get into. I'll add to the scope if possible.
Okay, can we file that in the bin for now, because I'm really late on this delivery. I don't know, that feels very rude, doesn't it? So, okay, let's go back to the SBI model. So situation, right, when you ask me for, okay, yeah, I think I've got it. Let's go.
Hi, Adam. Yeah, I want to get this this bit of scope in because it's vitally important we get it in.
Okay, right now is a very bad time to be adding things to the project. When you ask me to add things to the project, I really want to satisfy you. I want to give you what you want, but right now is not the time to be doing that. Maybe we can think about behavior. So yeah, let's do it again. And I'll say with behavior this time.
Sorry, was on mute. Hi, Adam. Yeah, no, I definitely need to get this extra scope into the delivery if possible.
Okay, right now it's going to be very difficult. We're behind. And I think by asking me at this time, it makes me feel unhappy because I want to please you, but I also want to deliver the project. So, you know, these are just experiments with you know, doing difficult conversations. And I think what I want people to do is go into a role play with the breakout rooms and just experiment with one of these ideas or any other difficult conversations you've been having recently, and try to play it again and again and practice the art of actually being able to feed back what you really want to say. I can't see how many people are in the room, but excellent. I can see people are returning. That's great. That's good to see everybody again. Hello, hello. Cool. Was it fun? Was it frustrating? How do people feel about this, practicing the arts of difficult conversations? Any nodding, any disagreements? Cool. I can see some people nodding. Cool. Okay. I mean, so it is unusual, but it's also, this is how we get better at it. So we don't often get the opportunity to replay these things over and over again. But yeah, no, this is one of those opportunities. By having sparring partners, we can actually test out different alternative approaches. You can also make it a little bit more extreme and just, you know, do things you would never do in public. But it's fun to just experiment sometimes. Have you ever walked away from a conversation going, oh, I wish I'd said that? And it's like, well, just do it. Have a go. I bet it turns out that you didn't really wish you said that. It just would have felt good in the moment. Cool. Okay. One of the things I really wanted to do was another experiment with everybody. So I was just checking the time. We're running okay. So this is an experiment to see what phrases we prefer to use and prefer to hear. Okay. So if everybody would like to go to menti.com, and we will have some phrases, and we're going to vote on how we think they are. So if people go to menti.com and use the code 86862, then you will see this sort of multiple choice thing. And
it's also in the chat, Adam.
Okay, yes. Oh, wait a minute.
You've already put it in the chat.
Yeah, cool. It is in the chat. Brilliant. Yeah, cool. Imagine somebody was coming to you in the company and they said, you must do this. And I want you to say, do you think that is very motivating or not very motivating? You must do this. You must do this project, or we must do this project. So if you can go down each of these things and imagine somebody's asking you to do them, the phrasing, do you find it motivating or not motivating? So I haven't, we've got some votes coming through.
Can you put the number in chat again, please?
The number is, okay, cool. Yeah, I'll do that. If I can find where the chat's gone, there we go.
Or repeat the number, please.
So 86862. 2 8 6s and then a 2. That's really confusing. 86862. Cool. I can see lots of votes coming in now. And there'll be some more. So at the moment, just to let you know, should we do is more motivate, or let us do. Let's do this. Yeah, I quite like that. Whereas you must do, not very motivating. I'm going to go to the next one. So apologies if you're mid-voting, but I'd like to get through all of these. So we've had 13 votes so far. Oh, there's some more going. So also what you can see if on the screen I'm sharing is you can see the spread, which is quite useful. I don't think people go into looking at terms that they're using in conversation very much. And so I think these sort of data captures are useful. So it should have just popped up and said, the presenter has changed the slide. Go to slide. If you voted, go to the next slide. That'd be really good. And then you can vote for the next ones. Like, I am expected to do, or I expect you to do, which is, oh, I expect you to do. Yeah, dare we dream of doing this project? It's an unusual phrasing, I think. But it definitely inspires some people, which is good. Cool, once it's got past 10 votes, I will go to the next slide. So I'll go to the next slide now. So this is the last one, thankfully. And all of this data I'll make available afterwards. So it will be in the slide deck that we save with this. And I think it's just a good sort of understanding of, you know, how motivated are people by different things? And then maybe the next time you're practicing a difficult conversation, you can try and use one of these. Like, I've been challenged to deliver, you know, this website by the end of the week. And other people might find that more motivating than give me the website by the end of the week. Cool. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for being part of that experiment. You can carry on voting on there while I do the rest of the things. But I'm just going to conclude now. One size doesn't fit all. I think that was clear with some of these votes that they, you know, look at we need to do. There's a big spread from people not finding it very motivating to people finding it very motivating. So everybody is different. However, this is also only a small, you know, target audience. It's the people who are interested in mastering difficult conversations. So I would say there aren't people who are good at having difficult conversations, but there are people who practice it, and there are people who avoid it. And if you avoid it, then you're not going to get any better. So you've got to just get a little bit better by giving yourself that practice, giving yourself that time, having a sparring partner. So what have we learnt? You've discovered some terms that are more or less motivating, and I'll be showing those slides afterwards. You've role-played and built your confidence, hopefully. Swapped roles, and you can sort of build empathy in somebody else if you swap roles. So it's quite very good with the sparring that I'm suggesting to have 2 or 3 people. If you have a third person, you can actually watch the conversation and be like a referee afterwards, say, oh, this works and this didn't. We've discovered the importance of having a sparring partner. I think I've already said that. The SBI model for situation, behavior, and what's the I?
Impact.
Yeah, impact, thank you. I was just going to sit there for about an hour waiting for somebody otherwise. And you know what the perfect present is for yourself. So why not go and treat yourself to whatever it was, like a beautiful bouquet of flowers or a whiteboard. I really need a whiteboard. Tips. So find a professional sparring partner. It doesn't have to be somebody inside your organization. It can just be somebody that you get along with online or even, you know, in your house, whatever. Practice difficult conversations. Just practice, 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 practice. Encourage people to feed back to you. So I really do think it's a very powerful thing. If you can encourage feedback, and I mean real feedback, that's a good way to get good at difficult conversations, because you get to experience what it's like to be on the receiving end. And with that, learn to take feedback well, I would say. So it's all very well asking somebody to feedback to you, but it doesn't work if you then get very upset every time they feedback. So do try to learn how to receive feedback, thank them, and be warm about that feedback to encourage them to feedback again in the future. Get to know the people you are feeding back to. It's really, really difficult when a stranger lands some very difficult feedback on you. So don't expect that you can do that to strangers as well. So get to know people. And then another good one, I really like this book. So Radical Candor by Kim Scott is a very interesting book on those sort of difficult conversations. So cool. I think that's it from the presentation. So does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, there's no questions in the chat. So if anyone wants to either pop up there or ask some questions out loud, we've got a few minutes.
I have a question, if that's okay. With the role play, I presume they've come from real life situations that you've had, Adam. What happened in real life with one of those role play conversations?
Okay, so the real sore one, I guess, is the senior developer who doesn't like the junior developer's code. And in fact, I've been in that scenario a number of times as an observer, as a participant. I think it's a very difficult one because everybody is well-intentioned. So the code is not of the quality that one person might think. So you've really got to explore what it is about the code and not about the person. So a particularly nasty scenario was the senior developer attacking the junior directly and saying, you can't do this, it's rubbish, like you'll never be a developer. And that's a horrible thing. Whereas if you say, this code is hard to read, it's much, much more useful rather than this code is rubbish. Rubbish isn't quantifiable. Hard to read is. So when I've been in those situations, I've really tried to depersonalize it and make it more about the thing, not the person. Yeah.
Thanks.
I've got a question.
Yes, yeah.
How do you make sure that before you enter the conversation, as it were, that you're in a calm and just appropriate mindset and demeanor to make sure that it goes as smoothly as what you hope it will do?
That's a good question. And so, I mean, like you say, calm, quiet, very good leaders into what I would suggest is a good thing. Also, impersonal, like it shouldn't be done publicly. So they always say, praise in public, punish in private, I think it is, all the 4 Ps. So just make sure that you're having these difficult conversations directly. And also when like explain that you're going to give them some feedback so that they are aware to receive the feedback and not sort of be half on their phone or actually they're on a conference call with somebody else. Like just make sure they are listening to you.
Adam, culture came up quite a bit in the breakout sessions, the importance of culture.
Yeah.
You know, views on that? Part in this.
So, I mean, yeah, culturally, there are countries who are particularly direct, and it can be off-putting as, you know, if you're not used to that directness. There are other countries that are less. So be aware of the culture. Always ask if you can give feedback if you're not sure of the sort of cultural environment. So I would definitely say if you're working across cultures, then you know, ask for permission before you go blindly in. Yeah, I worked with a previous organization where there was an incredibly direct culture, and I would often walk into what I thought were arguments. Turns out they were just chatting about, you know, what they had for lunch.
You've touched on what I was going to ask about, Adam, which was about asking permission to give that feedback. So the feedback model that I've used is similar to yours, but it starts with saying, you know, can I give you some feedback? And the premise behind that was the purpose of giving that feedback is to change future behaviour, you know, not to tell them off about something, but to change what happens in the future. And if they're not in a frame of mind to listen to any feedback right now, it's pointless giving it to them. And I've had someone say to me, no, don't want it right now, but they, in my experience, they've always come and asked, okay, what was that feedback? And it's because they've got something going on in their mind, or something's just happened, or whatever. They just weren't in the frame of mind to listen to it. But it, you know, the opportunity soon arises to give it again, or they came seeking it. So I think part of it is effective feedback is being aware of our own need to give that feedback compared to, is the person in a state of mind to receive it? And if they're not, they won't receive it very well, no matter how widely you've worded it.
Yeah.
So you've got to take that in mind as well, I think.
Absolutely. I think that's a really powerful point, you know, sort of understand how it's going to land, how it's going to be received. Another anti-pattern, which I would say, is don't say, I've got some feedback for you, I'm going to give it to you tomorrow. Because now somebody's waiting all night, just, they probably can't sleep because they don't know what they're getting. And yeah. Second,
can I have another question, if that's all right?
Yes, please do.
Because this is something I've found difficult. I've had to line manage tester that was working remotely. So giving feedback was obviously more difficult than in the office where you could just grab a moment. And now that I think is more typical right now because, you know, people are working remotely. Yep. Do you have any tips around kind of giving feedback remotely? Because although I knew this direct very well, and I could just say, look, hey Joe, you got a minute? Can I give you some feedback? And they would say yes or no. But it does, you know, typing that and then loading up a Zoom call or whatever video adds tension to that feedback, and they're already getting nervous and a bit tense about it. Yeah. Have you got any tips around delivering feedback remotely?
So if it's somebody you regularly give feedback to, like, think, can it wait until your next one-to-one? And you should have regular one-to-ones with people that you are, you know, often frequently feeding back to. And then it's not sort of unusual when in that next one-to-one you give some feedback. I would say if you're doing that, make sure not every single one-to-one you're going, it wasn't very good when this happened, because like,
yeah, coming off period.
Yeah, it becomes, your one-to-one is basically you know, a flogging session, and nobody wants that. So yeah, no, have regular meetups, but if it's not a regular thing, like you say, unfortunately there is the tension of the Zoom call, but you're just going to have to roll with it. I don't see any other things, as long as but I absolutely love the fact that you're using the Zoom call, you're turning video on. I think that's important because it's the best we've got right now.
Could I ask it's a thought and a question? If you're asking, if you're basically using the SBI model, so you're talking about what impact it's having on people, I find that sometimes saying, well, in what way, how could we help make this better? So rather than just leaving it as the impact was this and it was terrible, so well, what could we do to make it easier for you to do something different?
Yes, so having an action at the end. I wonder whether suggesting an action or asking for a response, which one's more effective? Because you might have a really good idea as, you know, just don't be late, but actually finding out how they would respond to it can land more powerfully. So it's kind of a question rather than a...
Yeah, to me, it's saying, how can we help you?
Yeah, yeah. What
would make it easier for you to...
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. If you can give something to help this situation, absolutely.
Adam, apologies, we're out of time now, so we have to draw a line on that. Thank you very much for your time. We do have the next Elevenses planned for the 11th of June, and we're going to go into the realms of UX. So UX for day one, insights to strategy, and we've got one of our UX gurus in Andre coming on to do that. So that's on Eventbrite and on the website if people are happy to go and join that one as well. So will be interesting, I promise. And thank you, Adam, for your time, and thank you everybody for your time today.
Thanks, Adam.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Adam.
Cheers. Thanks, Adam. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.